So this is a very easy and quick recipe. We'll start off with spreading out with a fork the amount of flour that you're going to need for the amount of cutlets that you have. So these are kind of mini cutlets. They're not full size. These are on at a local grocery store. So I use about a half a cup of flour and I spread it out with a fork. So you're going to want to add your salt and pepper to each side of your cutlets. I think there is about 8 cutlets in the package that I bought. Again, not full size. Sometimes you'll see scallopini can be quite long and wide, but these are actually easier to handle because they fit in your frying pan a little bit better, especially if you don't have a very large frying pan. So yeah, treat both sides with just a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. You could also season your flour, that way it's a little more even, but you have a little less control as well over each piece. So if you want someone to have less salt and less pepper on certain cutlets, then you can manage that this way. Okay, so coat both sides. And this is veal leg, so it's from the hind saddle of the calf. This is often used for scallopini and schnitzel. So I think the difference between schnitzel and scallopini is very thin. It's just dredged in flour, and whereas schnitzel is sometimes a little bit thicker, but it's also breaded, so it has the breadcrumbs and flour and egg wash. So we'll start with a large frying pan here, and about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of whatever oil you're using. This happens to be sunflower oil. And then 2 tablespoons of butter, so either salted or unsalted. And this is over medium-high heat. And again, these are smaller cutlets. Sometimes, typically, when you buy veal cutlet, is very large pieces, so you may only be able to do 1 or 2 at any given time. But these are pretty small and manageable, so I kind of actually like the size. Okay, so just after the foaming's gone away, and it's nice and hot, you want some slight browning in the butter, but not too much. You can always turn your heat down a little bit too if it tends to get too brown. And you're going to add your cutlets. And this is important because they're so thin. They're only about 1/4 inch thick. You only want to do this for 1 minute. So 1 minute per side is all it takes to cook. If you go too long, they're going to end up a little bit tougher and not as nice. So you want them nice and tender, and just with a very light crispiness with a light coating of the flour. Okay, so after 1 minute, you want to flip it around. You don't want to add too much oil or too much butter because these are very fast frying, and you don't want them to absorb too much. But I did, have 8 or 9 pieces I had to do, so I did need the sufficient amount of oil and butter. Okay, and then just place them on a paper towel on a plate, just to drain off any excess. You can see I added a little bit of parsley here and there. That's optional. Some people will add a few pieces of fresh garlic into their pan to add some extra flavor. And you can use this recipe for any very thinly sliced, no more than 1/4 inch of any type of meat. I do have a recipe for a chicken schnitzel with bacon. I'll link to that in the description. But generally, yes, anything that's thin and fast cooking, you could use the same method. But veal is known for being very tender. You can see the one piece wasn't quite done on the one side, so I just let it go a little bit longer. But, generally another 10-20 seconds. We're not talking, they're very fast. This only takes about, say, 15 minutes from start to finish, this recipe, so very quick. But yeah, you could use a sliced, very thin tenderloin, maybe of pork, and do that as well. So once you're done, you want to add a little bit of, this is what I do anyway, and it's fairly traditional, is to add a little bit of either white or red wine. This is some homemade white wine that I had. So about 1/2 cup, roughly, depending on how much you're making in terms of cutlets. You want to pour that in and let that boil off a bit and thicken. And then scrape all your good bits that are on the bottom of the pan to be incorporated into the wine flavor. Okay, so this doesn't take very long, generally about a minute. Just let some of the alcohol evaporate off, and it gives a nice flavor, a nice little thinner sauce to pour over. Then I'm just using a metal scoop or spatula here to just make sure all the scrapings are off the bottom. And it's thick enough now that you don't want it too thick, and you want to be able to pour it on top. So I've seen other recipes where they'll add cherry tomatoes or sliced fresh tomato on top as well, and that adds a little bit extra flavor to your sauce. Some people will use mushrooms, and that's what I did this here. The side dish is a mixed sliced pepper and mushrooms together. But I just wanted to focus on the veal itself, so I'm just laying it out here on a plate, and I'm going to pour some of the sauce over it. So this isn't the whole portion of what I made, but just a few pieces. And veal tends to be a little bit more expensive than the other cuts of beef, but if you happen to see it as a special, pick it up and give this recipe a try. It is a very nice tender treat, basically. It's not something you have every day. It's not very fatty. It's very high in protein, so some good nutrition in there. So I'm just going to add some of the sauce. So this is from, if you want to call it drippings, but this is from the pan. And your choice of wine, if you want to go with red wine or white wine, or even you could do a stock, chicken stock or beef stock. But it is a nice added flavor to have a little bit of reduced wine. You don't want something too tart or dry or vinegary. I guess it's to your own liking and your own taste, but this was a Chardonnay, a medium dry Chardonnay. Okay, so we're just going to drizzle that on top. And again, I served it with some fried mushrooms and assorted peppers. And we're just going to cut into it, very tender. And I just made up some potatoes on the side, just some boiled potatoes. So a nice change from steak or other meats that you typically will have. Again, you don't want anything too thick. It should be roughly 1/4 inch. And I did add a bit of parsley on a few pieces, so that adds nice flavor as well. So I encourage you to give this a try. Again, these were on special. Veal is a little bit more, but sometimes when they're on sale, I'll buy them and make the scallopini. So I call it easy scallopini. So give it a try. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for more videos. Please subscribe, and bye for now.